She stood at my door, soaked from the rain, her eyes filled with regret. "Please, let me explain," she whispered, her voice shaking. It had been a year since I last saw her. Since the discovery of her affair drove me to leave without a word. I believed I had moved on, buried the pain deep down, but as I gazed into the eyes of the woman who shattered me, I realized that some scars never truly heal. Our unexpected reunion took place in a coffee shop, where she accidentally spilled her drink on me. She laughed nervously, apologized profusely, and from that awkward moment blossomed a conversation that lasted for hours. It all began so simply, so effortlessly. It almost felt like the universe had conspired to bring us back together. Our relationship progressed rapidly. She embodied everything I had ever sought, intelligent, witty, with a smile that illuminated every room. We shared our hopes, fears, and aspirations for the future. She felt like my soulmate. A year later, we exchanged vows in an intimate ceremony surrounded by loved ones. As I gazed into her eyes on that special day, my heart overflowed with love and hope for our shared future. I once gazed into her eyes with a promise of eternal love, never foreseeing that one day I would behold them brimming with remorse and regret. The initial years of our relationship were blissful, filled with intimate conversations, impromptu getaways, and tranquil Sundays enveloped in each other's warmth. We believed we were an unbreakable team, or at least, that was my perception. In retrospect, I realized the fissures had emerged long before I acknowledged them. Her demeanor gradually shifted. She grew more distant over time. Her laughter waned, she devoted excessive hours to work, and her attention gravitated towards her phone. I attributed her behavior to stress, reassuring myself that every couple encounters rocky periods. Little did I know, the reality was far more complex than mere drifting apart. On a particularly fateful Friday evening, she mentioned having to toil late at the office once more. I feigned ignorance, concealing my awareness of how she evaded direct eye contact, and how her smile lacked its former radiance. Seated alone at the dining table, my gaze fixed upon the cold, untouched meal I had prepared for us, I attempted to suppress the growing unease in my gut. I thought I'd left the pain there too, but pain has a way of following you no matter how far you run. Leaving was supposed to be the hardest part, but it wasn't. It was waking up the next morning in an unfamiliar place, realizing that the life I'd built was gone. That was the real heartbreak. I moved to a new city far from the memories. A small apartment with bare walls, a mattress on the floor, and nothing to remind me of her. No wedding photos, no gifts we exchanged, just empty space and the echo of what used to be. I thought if I stripped everything down to the basics, I could rebuild myself without the pieces she'd broken. The first few weeks felt like I was on autopilot. Wake up, go to work, come home, stare at the ceiling until sleep finally won. Even sleep wasn't an escape. My dreams were haunted by her face, her laughter, the warmth of a love that now felt like a lie. I'd wake up with my heart racing, reaching for someone who wasn't there, someone I didn't want to be there anymore. I dreaded people. Conversations felt exhausting because everyone wanted to know, "Are you okay?" And how do you answer that? "No, I'm not okay. I'm unraveling." But you smile, you nod, and you lie because it's easier than explaining the emptiness. I thought work would be my escape. Deadlines, meetings, endless tasks to keep my mind occupied. But grief is clever. It hides in the smallest things, in the empty chair across from me at dinner, in the song playing softly in the background of a coffee shop, in the way strangers held hands like nothing could ever break them. There were days I hated her, really hated her for the lies, the betrayal, the way she made me question my worth. But there were also days I hated myself more for not seeing the signs, for trusting blindly, for believing that love was enough. I'd replay every moment in my head, wondering what I missed. Was it the late nights, the fake smiles, the distant hugs? How did I not see it? I tried dating once or twice, but it felt empty, like trying to fill a broken glass no matter how much I tried to pour it in. It always seemed to seep out. I wasn't prepared. I was still grasping onto something that no longer existed. I found myself constantly measuring every smile, every touch, every conversation against her memory, not out of longing, but in an attempt to make sense of how someone could feign emotions so convincingly. However, the journey of healing is not straightforward. It doesn't follow a linear path. Some days I felt empowered, as though I was making progress and moving forward. Other days I felt overwhelmed by memories I never wanted to hold on to. It's curious how sorrow doesn't announce its arrival. It catches you off guard in everyday places, like the grocery store when you pass by your favorite cereal, or when the sunlight filters through the window just as it did in your former living room. And then, gradually, things began to shift. Not in grand, sweeping motions, but in subtle changes. A genuine laugh, a restful night's sleep, a morning where she wasn't the first thought on my mind. I embraced new routines, new connections, fresh motivations to greet the day. I discovered the joy of solitude, finding solace in quiet moments instead of succumbing to fear. I found solace in writing once more, a passion I had abandoned during our time together. Embracing neglected hobbies and forming connections with individuals unaware of my past allowed me to be seen for who I truly am presently. I believed I had left her behind, convinced I had buried the pain deep enough to erase its existence. However, pain possesses enduring roots, resurfacing unexpectedly, as it did when she re-entered my life. On what seemed like an ordinary day, following my return from work with a bag of groceries in one hand and keys in the other, the setting sun bathed my apartment in a gentle orange hue. I embraced the tranquility of the moment, relishing a small victory on my journey toward healing. Then a knock at the door shattered the calm. It was soft, tentative, almost hesitant. I entertained the possibility of a neighbor or a delivery person, never imagining that the person on the other side would be her. Standing there, soaked from the rain, her hair clung to her face, her eyes swollen and red, haunted by the same ghost I had been trying to bury. She appeared different from the woman I had left behind, smaller, fragile, with regret etched into every line on her face. A heavy silence lingered between us as we locked eyes. Her lips quivered as she attempted to speak, struggling to push out the words. Finally, in a whisper, she pleaded, "Please, just hear me out." The impulse to slam the door crossed my mind, but curiosity, or perhaps a need for closure, kept me rooted in place. I stepped aside to let her in, water dripping from her onto the floor, her presence weighing heavier than the ensuing silence. She stood there, hands trembling as if trying to rid them of guilt. Her voice quivered as she spoke. "I've been looking for you. I needed to see you. I needed to tell you. I'm sorry." The word sorry felt inadequate yet overwhelming. I leaned against the wall, crossing my arms, unsure of how to respond. Gazed at me with a blank expression, while within my chest, a year-old battlefield raged on. In a quiet voice, I mustered, "All you have to offer is sorry." Her eyes brimmed with fresh tears, spilling over as she struggled to speak. "I was wrong. I was selfish," she confessed, her words choked with emotion. "I don't know what I thought. I made the biggest mistake of my life, and I've been living with it every single day since you left." She expressed her remorse, detailing her restless nights and how the affair paled in comparison to what she had lost. She recounted the deafening silence that followed my departure, her futile hope for my return, and her belated realization of my permanent absence. I listened not out of a desire to forgive or to rekindle what we once had, but rather to confirm what I already knew, that walking away had been the right choice. As she concluded, a heavy, suffocating silence enveloped the room. Tears streamed down her face as she gazed at me, seeking. The words she had yearned to hear were left unspoken by me. I stood there, allowing her remorse to linger in the silence that enveloped us. After a prolonged pause, I finally spoke. My voice was composed yet resolute as I uttered, I used to replay the day I departed in my mind countless times, pondering whether I should have stayed and fought for our relationship. But standing here now, I realized that I didn't lose you. You lost me." Her expression faltered, her knees nearly buckling as she pleaded, "Please, just give me another chance. I've changed, I've been miserable without you." I gently shook my head, remarking softly, I'm relieved that you found me, but not for the reason you believe." She moved closer, as if to bridge the gap between us, yet I stepped back, widening the distance between us more than the years that had transpired. "I forgave you long ago," I continued, "but not for your sake. I forgave you for mine own. I needed to liberate myself from the anger, the betrayal, the hurt. And I have. I don't harbor any hatred. I don't hold any love. I simply no longer feel anything." Her tears cascaded more heavily, her body trembling with silent sobs. There was no more to be said. No words could mend the broken pieces. No apology could erase the damage. Walking towards the door, I opened it with measured deliberation. Without casting a glance back, I uttered the parting words that would echo in her mind, farewells, and with a gentle push, I closed the door not just in front of me, but within my heart as well. As the latch clicked into place, I lingered not out of clinging to the past, but from embracing the act of release. The once suffocating silence now felt freeing. At that moment, I wasn't tormented by uncertainties or regrets. The need to revisit history in search of unattainable answers dissolved. I came to understand that healing isn't boisterous. It doesn't demand grand declarations or theatrical apologies. Healing is subtle. It resides in the quiet mornings when you wake without the weight on your chest. It's in the simple joys of breathing without ache, smiling naturally, and gazing forward with a renewed sense of peace. The mirror stood alone, its reflection obscured by a betrayal not of its making. Along the winding trail of remorse, she returned in search of absolution, yearning for the solace of a heart that she once called her own. Yet unbeknownst to her, I had long since moved on. I had gathered the remnants of pain, heartache, and memories, and bid them farewell before she even arrived at my doorstep. Forgiveness is not a gift bestowed upon the one who caused the hurt. Rather, it is a gift to oneself. It is the decision to release the burden of another's transgressions. My forgiveness was not a reward for her actions. It was a declaration of mine own right to peace, liberation, and the opportunity to craft a new narrative. One where she played a minor role, not the leading character. Thus, if you find yourself waiting for closure, for that pivotal moment or an apology to bring freedom, know this: liberation does not come from external sources. It emanates from within. It materializes the day you realize that you do not require their words to affirm your value. And sometimes the most profound closure does not stem from an apology. It emerges. Walking away confidently, straightening up, and declaring, "I am finished," signifies that the most impactful goodbyes are those that do not involve glancing back.